Yeah, it's been a minute. Actually, I got on the other day, but it was only for like 20 minutes or something like that. I've been doing more stuff on Instagram. I'm sorry, guys. I've been I would say I'm cheating on TikTok, but I don't think we were ever in a committed relationship, so. Thank you. See, I thought I'll just say, I think that the people who are paying attention, I think that they'll like the Gog Magog video, because I was reading the book of Ezekiel and I got to Ezekiel 38 and I was like, I was kind of thinking, like, historically, the more I've tried to read my Bible, I started to think about like the places, the peoples, the like basically the genealogies. I think the geography is very interesting. So I'm kind of thinking, like, where is this coming from? Is there historic people that obviously related to, was it Japheth, then Gomer, then Magog, then there's Gog of Magog? So I started to like do a little research. It blew me away to see that there literally was like the Gog and Magog statues in London, of all places. And one thing that did not go in the video was absolutely insane is, did you know that the city of London and then the London proper, like we consider like Big Ben, the royal family, all that kind of stuff, they're separate. Did you guys know that? It's absolutely nuts. Basically, the Romans established the city of London, and that's where the Gog Magog parade happens. Actually, they call it the Lord's Mayor Parade. Very weird. And so obviously they have the crest, the city of London has these crests that are dragons, everything insane. And there was a walled city. There's only 11,000 people in the city of London. Now, London, like we all know it, has 7 million people. But this was basically like a Roman city that, guess what? It never fell. It's like, is it still a Roman city? I mean, it kind of sounds like it is. It's like this place inside of Great Britain, inside London, but it's the king, the royal family, the king, the queen, everybody, obviously the queen, Queen Elizabeth II, she's long passed, but they have to get permission in order to go to the city of London. That is absolutely nuts. So, of course, if you guys want to do some research, I'm probably do this on my own. Okay, so we already know there's a place called the Vatican, right? That's basically this city, basically country. And then now you look like there's a place, so obviously you think the Vatican, Rome, the Roman Catholics, hello. And then now we know in London, there's literally a Roman city that's still a Roman city in London. Okay. I watched a video, it's called like the secret London or something like that. And of course, they were by the end of the video, the guy's basically telling you all the facts. And then he's saying, this conspiracy theorists have a field day with this about secret societies and the financial system running the world. And you're like, you're daggone right we do. It's like there's a secret place in London that has different laws. It's not bound to Parliament, the king, or anybody. And it's like, that's weird, right? And obviously it was a Roman city. So like, I don't know. I think that's worth, looking into. The real question is, okay, so now we already know there's the Vatican. It's basically its own country. The city of London, possibly. They say it's not its own country, but I mean, it kind of is. What about, what other cities are like that around the world that basically have their own little place? I don't know, kind of like Washington, D.C. The District of Columbia, which is really it's not in a state. It's got its own flag. Very strange stuff. Well, right, there's an interesting story when you find out like the Battle of Waterloo, when it's like the Rothschilds basically when they own the Bank of London. So what they end up like selling war bonds. What they had their messengers had basically like so a little history lesson, guys. So the French and the English were battling. They were fighting Napoleon. And so there was this big famous battle called the Battle of Waterloo. And so they said that the basically the government's messengers and the Rothschilds messengers obviously were in a little foot race. The Rothschilds messenger got there first, and they knew that the English defeated the French at the Battle of Waterloo. Well, being obviously very astute, they did a head fake. They sold their war bonds, and everyone thought, oh, the Rothschilds know that the French won. Well, they tricked everyone. So everyone dumped their war bonds, and then the Rothschilds bought all of them. And then at that point, they basically owned the Bank of London. And yes, and I think they are established in the city of London. How about that? So it's kind of like, how's that for conspiracy theory? So like, and at that point, I think the Rothschilds basically almost bought their way into royalty, and yeah. And obviously they've been financing both sides of every war since, at least since then. So yeah, so if you want to get conspiratorial, there you go. It's kind of like follow the money. Always follow the money. You see, it says what, let me see. I have a feeling I'm going to be blocking a lot of people tonight. Okay, me says, what's one of my favorite Bible verses? I would probably say, if you pin me down, my favorite Bible verse is Romans 8:28. God, for those who love God, God works all things together for the good, who you love God and are called to his purposes. So that, to me, that's always like, that's what it's really about, is that if you really believe God, you believe in God's promises, it doesn't really matter, good or bad, God can use these things to get you closer to him and all the things he wants for you. So that's kind of my favorite verse, because I think that's a life verse for me. But yeah, guys, so I've had a lot of haters on my channel, so I have a feeling this live could get fun. Is that I started talking about people's favorite religion of science and NASA, and people don't like that very much. That you question like the people, their priests in their white lab coats. They don't like that, you know. You get called all kinds of names by people who are supposed to be serious and sciencey, which is kind of funny, because they should actually be willing to be questioned, but they're not, because you know they're very thin-skinned, and they pretend like they know everything, but they don't. Did we go to the moon? No, I don't believe we did. Is it possible that we did? I mean, I would give a slight chance it's possible, but I think it's pretty well established that the video is fake, all the footage is fake. Here's a question. Okay, so if we want to get into the space topic, we can talk about the space topic for 1 second. I've got a question. Okay, so if you've ever seen the James Webb Telescope pictures, the pictures are fake. And I don't care what anyone says, they have to use composite images, they overlay them together, and then they take Photoshop and then they make them into like something pretty. They're not real pictures. Okay, so the question is, why did they need to do that? Because supposedly in 1969, they took a video camera to the moon. They took actual regular cameras and video cameras to the moon, and they broadcast from the moon live. Okay, like I said, just think about that for 1 second. So why could they take real video camera footage and broadcast it live to crappy TVs in 1969, and now telescopes need to have Photoshop in order to make the images viewable? Anybody want to take that one? So how can they get? So supposedly there's a Van Allen radiation belt that it would ruin cameras if you brought it through. It'd ruin film, and yet they could broadcast live footage from the moon. Richard Nixon could talk to somebody from the moon with a landline phone, and I know they packed in with they obviously patched in with a radio, but still. So how does that work? Yeah, exactly. So I don't know how photos work, but I do know that they had live video footage from the moon in 1969. and now I know it's 2023. So what, that's 54 years later, whatever it is. The 54 years later. And now they have to Photoshop pictures in order to make them viewable. That really doesn't make any sense to me. Like I said, if that makes sense to anyone else, well, yeah, I mean, that doesn't make any sense. And obviously, what the funny part is, people have been saying, like, so when I ask questions and these people have answers, like, that's not debunking anything for you guys to have an answer, because it's like, what I'm trying to tell you is I don't believe you. So like you can have an answer and you can say, oh, well, it's been debunked because somebody who's a NASA shill who has a bunch of followers responds to my video. It doesn't mean I believe her. My point is, I know what they say. Whether you say I'm dumb or not, I know what the other side says. And, I'm educated. I just don't believe those people anymore. So like when they say the flag waved because the astronaut moved it a little bit, well, the flag waved apart from the person moving it. Obviously, you can see what every reaction is a reverse and opposite reaction. They didn't shake the pole, but the flag is doing this. The flag was moving way harder after it got moved the first time. That doesn't make any sense, really. And obviously, just think about for 1 second, somebody was videotaping the first guy getting out of the spaceship, right? So what their comment was, so here's what the comment I kept on getting is that the video camera was strapped to the leg of the lunar lander. Just think about that, guys. Isn't the environment of space very harsh? There's a video camera strapped to the leg. Okay, well, what about when it took back off? Okay, so remember, the thing separates, right? So the lander is here with the legs down, and then the thing pops off. Okay, so where is the camera there? And actually, it's not only that, the camera pans up to show it leave. That was a cameraman did that. I mean, like, these are kind of just obvious things of like, this doesn't make any sense. And once again, this was live video. And this was, 250,000 miles away. And there's like, what kind of delay was there? Nixon is talking to the people from the moon. Like, it is so insane that it was almost like, if they wanted it to make it believable, they would have faked it and then said, hey, here's the footage from the moon. We're going to show you the first shots from the moon where you would see the guy get out of the spaceship. One of the guys actually holding the camera from behind the first astronaut getting out. Not from the moon. Not from the surface of the moon. That is insane. Like, I mean, like, you have to be so gullible to believe that at this point. That was fake. That was fake. Tower 7, yeah. There you go. It is. It's like, it's incredible that people actually believe that, but it's kind of like, well, because there's an answer to no matter how silly their answer is, because there's an answer, it's been debunked. It's like these people must work for Snopes or PolitiFact, where it's like, well, that's got some context, and it's like, this is the truth. It's like, no, it's not. It's like, once again, I don't believe them. These people are liars. I mean, how many times do they got to get caught lying? How many times do they got to show the International Space Station where it's like, there's wires connected to these people at times? You know what I mean? Like, all it really matters is if you lied one time to me, you're a liar. I mean, praise God that, like, we can be forgiven for being liars, but you know what? It doesn't mean I have to believe you again. Like, I can forgive you and I can pray for you, but I don't have to believe you every time you lie to me now, because that's not what science is. So even I had another question where it was like, I said that there was no gravity at the International Space Station. Well, you know why I said this, right? I said this because I literally just watched a news segment from the International Space Station where they said the new astronaut was in zero gravity. So that was their words. Zero gravity. Okay, so they can say, well, it's 0 G's because they're falling all the time. It's like, well, that's not what they said. They said this new astronaut who just got to the International Space Station was in zero gravity. Okay, so either there's zero gravity or there's gravity. Okay, well, there can't be both. So that, once again, this is their language. What I've told people was, all right, well, if you have a story, why don't you stick with it? Pick one and stick with it. Because I'm just quoting them. Obviously, I know what they're going to say. But again, when you really think about it, they're trying to say the International Space Station, which looks like a huge piece of garbage, by the way. It doesn't look like it could withstand the rigors of space in the thermosphere, which is like 1,000 degrees. This thing actually is, did you know in the thermosphere, it's the thickest part of our atmosphere. Do you know that? Like the thickest part. So it's like, so when they say there's no friction, there's lots of friction in the thermosphere. It's 250 miles up. Look this up. This is, like I said, this is the science that they say. So this space station falls at 17,500 miles an hour. And these guys are acting like clowns inside the International Space Station, floating around. Watch me do a flip. Look at my hair. My hair's sprayed straight up in the air. Oh, look at my necklace. It's hanging up like this. And then they get out and they climb out with their little wrenches and they tinker around on the outside of the thing. Like they're going 17,000 miles an hour. Do you know how dangerous that would be? But nobody ever dies up there, do they? Isn't that crazy? That, like, as dangerous as that would be, no one ever dies. Except for the one guy, who almost drowned in his spacesuit. Do you guys remember that? Did you guys see that story? The guy almost drowned in his spacesuit. Well, how do you almost drown up on the International Space Station? Probably because it's in a pool in Texas. It's not actually up in outer space. You know, that's probably a more likely reason that you might actually drown is because it was in a pool. It was in some pool and he got a leak in his wetsuit. I mean his spacesuit. This is crazy stuff. And so really what it means is like these people come in there, and obviously I've been getting harassed like you wouldn't believe, because I made these videos, and it's like you can't, it's like obviously it's like swatting flies at this point. Like you can't really respond to everybody because it's like literally you have, oh, you're dumb. Oh, you're dumb. And it's like, no, I know what they say. I've been educated. I'm not indoctrinated though. I don't believe everything they tell me anymore. So like I've looked into these things myself, and it's like obviously there's the conclusions I came to where like, you know what? I said in my first video, I said, I don't believe that you can communicate with a spaceship that's 87 million miles away. I don't believe it. You know, how do you control a craft that's 87 million miles away? 87 million miles. Okay, so this thing runs on what? Basically, hope and faith by the people on the ground. Obviously, it runs on a lot of tax dollars, but how does it actually work? You know, and obviously, what keeps it from going straight into the sun? If the sun has so much gravity that it can pull it at 430,000 miles an hour. 430,000 miles an hour. What stops it from going directly into the sun? Does anyone have an answer for that? Does it put the brakes on? Okay, so if there's no friction in space, how does it stop? How does it stop from going right into the sun? Oh, do they again, does it have rocket boosters that go the other way? Orbital dynamics? Okay, so you just came up with a word, but that doesn't actually make any logical sense. And obviously it's not something that can be tested on Earth, because you're just saying, oh, well, it just doesn't go into the sun. 430,000 miles an hour. That's pretty fast, right? I mean, is there anything you can compare that to? It's math. Yeah, the math doesn't work because like there's no other craft that you could mention. They were saying before this that the fastest satellite went 38,000 miles an hour. So this thing goes 430,000 miles an hour. And obviously, for some reason, as hot as the sun is, it doesn't affect the equipment at all. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Like I said, what it really comes down to is you have to have faith in the people who are telling you these things are true, because obviously there's no way you can witness these things yourself. Correct? Like, so your faith is in people with white lab coats. My faith is in Jesus. My faith is obviously in a book that obviously has things to back it up. See, that's the thing, is like people say, like people like to mock Christians by saying, oh, your faith is in a book. Well, it's like, don't you believe in books too? Obviously, people write things that you believe in books. My book, I find to be accurate based on it had predictions, prophecies that have come true. And it's reliable and it makes sense to the world we live in. It tells me about how humans act and interact. Like there are so many biblical prophecies that have come true. And obviously is a historic document that has been put together over, gosh, like it's an amazing book just in that self. And to say, oh, well, you believe in a book. Well, you daggone right I believe in a book. I mean, what you guys don't believe in books? So the pro-science crowd doesn't believe in books. Oh, just not that book. Oh, well, there you go. So again, you're saying, oh, well, you believe in a book that a man wrote. And it's like, well, yeah, I know a man wrote the Bible, multiple men, and it's inspired by the Holy Spirit. It's inspired by God. And how do I know that? Because the prophecies are accurate. They continue to come true. And obviously it's playing out in real life right now. And it's like, so yes, that's where my faith is at. But like I said, the pro-science crowd does not admit that they have to have faith in what they believe, which is an absolute fact. If you think that this spaceship is going 430,000 miles an hour it's unmanned, it's controlled, it's 87 million miles away, you believe that, then you have a lot of faith in liars. You have faith in people who have lied to you over and over again and been wrong many times. So like I said, my faith is in God. My faith is in the things I can see based on the things I can see, based on my life experience. God has not lied to me. God is faithful. These people lie all the time. These people are out for money. They're out for power, and they're out to deceive you. And obviously there's so many people deceived. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But you can't see that. You can see the effects of science. I can see the effects of God. Like I said, it's such an interesting thing when you really take the blinders off, you look at this, you look at the world you live in and the amount of different types of things in this world. And like the idea that this didn't come from a creator is, like I said, Psalm 14:1. The fool says in their heart, there's no God. You look around you and you can't see that a creator exists, the detail and everything, the amount of different species of things, they all came from the same place. Yeah, they did. They came from a creator, but they didn't all evolve from some single cell organism. They didn't all come from an explosion. There's so much detail in this world. The beauty in this place, obviously it's like coming up to a painting. And this is actually a poor example because the world's so much more complex. Coming up to a painting and say, hey, that's beautiful. I bet it painted itself. Obviously it didn't. The whole world speaks to a creator. I mean, obviously, in our human nature speaks to a creator. It's like that's how we know there's a right and a wrong. Like I said, we don't always agree what's right and wrong, but obviously the sense that we know there's a fairness, we know certain things are wrong without being told these things. That is God's nature in us. You know, God has instilled in you what you think is right and moral. That's what separates us from animals, because we're not animals. But if you believe what science says, why not just do whatever? Why would anything be wrong? Because you know things are wrong. Because God has given you those attributes that he has. Fairness, right, love, even anger. Hey, like the emotions we have. The one thing science can't explain, and I've seen this over and over again, where does consciousness come from? Like that we have these thoughts and these things. We're not just unthinking animals. Obviously, just having debates like here, you can see that. But I mean, like, obviously, people who want to have no accountability would rather say, I'm just an animal. I mean, like I said, they want to be treated. They would rather be lowered down to animals so they can have no accountability like one. I mean, it's, like I said, obviously it's sad. It's the people, it's the Esau's, where you would trade your birthright for a bowl of soup. Like I said, and I don't think people are honest with it. Nobody believes there's no God. You ever heard there's no atheist in a foxhole? When you get down to the end, when you're about to die, you're going to be praying to somebody. I almost guarantee it. You know that. You know, only some cocky, prideful man is going to sit there. There's no God. Oh, this all just created itself. You're going to be praying to something by the end. I guarantee you. And the sad part is, if you get all the way to the end and you're mocking God right now, you know what? He might not answer you. Today is the day. That's the truth. I mean, like I said, that is the truth, is that, you know, the truth, and actually the truth is, and I've come to this conclusion. I see my boy Luke battling out with atheists day in and day out. If you don't want to believe, I'm not going to try to convince you to believe. Like I said, if nobody comes to Jesus unless the Father draws him. Now, if I'm making sense to you, well, then that might be the Father tugging at your heart, leading you toward Jesus. But I'm not here to tell you, like, I don't go into NASA threads and tell people that the science is fake. Obviously, I expose lies all the time. And it's so funny. Like, I did a video about the Gog and Magog thing from London today. And I have people who are NASA, who are in the religion of NASA, trying to say, hey, what about outer space? What about outer space? And it's like, hey, guys, the grown-ups are talking in here. Do you guys have anything else to say? You know, we can still, there's a lot more to me than a guy who doesn't believe that we went to the moon. There's a lot more things I don't believe than that. And there's things I believe in. Obviously, guys like me do my own research, and then I come with my own conclusions. Now, you can disagree with me. Now, if you want to call me stupid, obviously we're not going to have much of a debate there, because it's like, well, you know, obviously that's not much of good faith. But obviously somebody who follows me around to disagree with me about other topics because you don't like that I said we didn't go to the moon, well, see ya. You know, see ya. Hey, let's see, Jethro. Let's see how many videos you got, Jethro. Oh, look at this guy. He's got 34 followers. What research have you done? You come in people's live streams to mock them? Obviously, do some more research. Actually, I mean, I did research. I looked it up. Go look at my video. You might not like my conclusions, but it's like somebody who's saying, oh, you believe that, but you don't believe in NASA? It's like, you're daggone right. I looked these things up. I mean, obviously, I was looking up historical things I didn't know before, and now I do. And obviously, people who want to know things, you know, enjoy those kind of videos. You know, historic things that relate to religion, the Bible, and those kind of things. If that's not your cup of tea, I don't follow you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't follow you. I don't look at your videos. I don't even know if you have any videos. Like, that's what I'm saying. Nobody's making you come in here. Made things up. Like I said, you don't even know what video I'm talking about. Like I said, I'm not following you around. Like I said, you popped into my live stream. You can just scroll up. You'll be gone. You know? Like I said, these are the kind of people where it's like, oh gosh, I dissed NASA. Oh, now you're mad at me. Okay, well, like I said, obviously, who's open-minded and who's not? Because I can disagree with people about outer space, and we could still agree about other things. Because I'm not here to start fights. I'm here to expose what's true. And if you have disagreements with me, fine, let's hear it. I'm willing to debate people, but I'm not going to argue with people, and I'm not going to obviously argue with people saying, "Oh, you're lying or you're dumb." Okay, well, sorry. You know, it's funny. It is funny that people say like, "Oh, this guy didn't graduate. He didn't finish science class." It's like, well, I mean, I do have a college degree, you know, but obviously I knew how to take a test. You know, I don't even agree with all the answers, but like, obviously I know what the answers they said were right, you know, but you get to a point in your life where you realize, hey, guess what? Some of the things I were told weren't true. Even again, it's funny, like when you think about being the pro-science crowd. Well, go look 2 years ago when we were told about, you know, the pandemic and like the things that were told to be true and the things that end up not being true. Look, okay, so the science changed every day. And so one day somebody disagrees with the science and they're banned off social media. They're idiots. They don't believe in modern medicine. And then one day it turns out, oh, guess what? They were right. Well, okay, so that's scientific. It's okay to question things. You know, obviously any like reasonable scientist realizes the whole point is trying to disprove things in order to prove what's correct. But obviously when you start to question the science, you find out it's not really science because you're not allowed to ask these questions. You know, just asking the questions is like, you know, the other thing is to say there's no such thing as a dumb question, because it's like you're only ignorant if you don't know something. Like, it's okay to be ignorant. We're all ignorant about the things we don't know. That's why we're supposed to ask questions, you know? And if we can't ask questions without being called idiots, we can't ask questions without actually being mocked, being made fun of, being called names. Like I said, aren't we trying to educate people? But that's obviously not what they're trying to do. They're trying to indoctrinate in people. So like this is the problem with what's happening today, is the fact that you can't question. Like if I question you, obviously I'm every name in the book, and it's like, well, that's not in good faith. You know, the people who are supposed to be the pro-science crowd should be the most patient because they just want you to learn things, but they don't. They just want you to fall in line. Well, like I said, we're not doing that anymore. Like I said, it's so funny when you think about it, like that. Okay, so I'm 44 years old. There was a long time that I would have been on the obviously we went to the moon argument, because I was told we went to the moon. Obviously, I've seen the videos of us going to the moon. I've seen all the NASA stuff. I was in the classrooms when they were wheeling in the little TVs so we could go watch the Challenger blow up. Like, it's not like I haven't had a life experience. It's not like I haven't got A's in science. I know what they say. I'm at the point now where I do not believe what they say anymore. Okay, so like what happens is when you start to be shown new evidence, what do they always say? Like, the first to plead his case seems right until the next person actually presents their case. And it's like, wait a minute. Once you start to untangle a few lies, it's like, okay, now what's true? And then you start asking more questions, and then you're the bad guy because you found out they were lying, and then you looked a little deeper and you found more lies. And the more you started to question it, the more you got attacked. Okay, so now you know the truth doesn't mind being questioned. You know, if you have the right answer, I don't mind somebody asking me the questions. But guess what? If it's just do as I say, or it's just this way because they don't have an answer. And obviously when their answers are silly, well, you know, people can choose what they want to believe. I mean, the point is like, you ain't going to the moon. You know what I mean? Like, so obviously you have to believe what somebody tells you. Again, that's faith. You have faith in these people who say, trust the science. They've proved to be wrong the next day. And then you got to trust them the next day. Okay, then they're wrong again. Okay, well, I'm done doing that. Well, I think that the truth of the matter is these people are disingenuous. They actually do have a religion. Again, explain to me how the NASA people, obviously they have this heliocentric model where you just think about, okay, so me and my buddy Brian, Demon Racers, did a podcast last night. And what we were talking about was NASA. So we actually talked about NASA. And so Jack Parsons, if you guys are not aware of who Jack Parsons is, Jack Parsons was the guy who started JPL. Well, Jack Parsons was a rocket scientist who wasn't actually a rocket scientist. Like, so he had no formal rocket training. He basically knew about rockets before like anybody did, right? Thank you, Susie. Appreciate you subscribing. He knew about rockets before anybody else really did. But you know, he had no formal training. You know what his training was? It was in Satanism. Guess what? Jack Parsons worshiped the sun. He did sun worship. Like, no lie. He was in the OTO. He was in the Aleister Crowley school of Satanism. Jack Parsons, look it up. Obviously, there's well documented, straight up Satanist. Like not even hiding it even a little bit. Okay, so it just so happens, it just so happens that when they finally start doing a mission to the moon, they name it after the sun god. Okay, so the guy who creates the rockets that eventually probably get us to the moon, they name the program after the sun god who he worshipped. Okay, so is this science or is this not science? Werner von Braun, do you guys know where he came from? He came from 1930s Germany. Remember the guy with the funny mustache? Okay, so this guy was the head of one of these concentration camps where they built the V2 rockets. Okay, so this guy was, I don't know if we get away with saying this on TikTok because people get upset. This guy was one of the bad people. He had the swastika on his arms. But guess what? He was the main guy at NASA. So you had one of those guys, and then you had a Satanist. And then they named the space program after what? The rockets were named after Saturn, a false god, once again. And then it was named after the sun god, Apollo. Okay, so is this religion or is this science? Well, sounds like a bit of both, doesn't it? And so now it's like so is that a conspiracy theory to say, hey, guess what? I don't trust those Germans from the 30s. I don't trust Satanists. I mean, especially when they're telling you what they're doing because, hey, they named the space program after Apollo, the sun god. And then you think about it. So Aleister Crowley. So, okay, just think about this. So Jack Parsons was in the Aleister Crowley school of Satanism, where you think about so Aleister Crowley talks about magic, and he talks about magic with a K. So magic, the K is the 11th number. K is the 11th is the magic number. So it just so happens that Apollo 11 is the moon mission that gets them to the moon. How about that, guys? Isn't that interesting? Isn't it interesting how that's the one, that was the lucky one, the magic number. And then the one that they got a little bit off on, the one that was unlucky was 13. Apollo 13. Remember when they made a movie about that? Hey, Houston, we got a problem. Guys, are you paying attention? Do you think, okay, these are all just coincidences, right? I mean, if you believe in coincidences, I guess you could say it is, but it just so happens that major Satanist, major German from the 30s, Operation Paperclip, sun god, magic numbers, now we're on the moon. And once again, like I said, just think about it. So the James Webb Telescope can't take pictures like normal cameras can. You can't take your Samsung or your iPhone up into outer space and take pictures of things because you need to take many, many pictures and you need to overlay them. And then you need a Photoshop artist to actually produce an image that doesn't look like garbage. But in 1969, they could send video cameras, like film cameras. Obviously, they didn't have digital cameras back then, right, guys? So they had regular film. They went through the Van Allen radiation belt and they took live video from the moon. From the moon. And not only that, they had President Nixon call the moon. And it was on TV, guys. And I shouldn't be skeptical of that. I shouldn't be skeptical of that. Like I said, if you want to believe that, that is up to you. But like I said, the more you look, the more you dig, the more you find there's more than that. That was only a little part of it. He did. Well, he called Houston and they used the radio waves to patch him into the moon. These guys are on the moon. Like, this is the first, can you imagine how dangerous this place is supposed to be? They say the surface of the moon is 250 degrees in the daytime. Like, isn't it dangerous? Do you think that they had time to be talking to somebody on the phone? This is President Nixon talking to you from a telephone from the Oval Room. He didn't even call it the Oval Office. He sounded like a robot. Like, what kind of delay do you think you'd have? You ever seen when they had like a war correspondent in like Iraq and he's like, talking to the headpiece, and it's like there's like a 5-second delay where they're like, it's like the most awkward conversation ever. But these guys are talking to the moon from the Oval Room, and this is broadcast live on TV. And you guys think that that's real? Like I said, who got the shot of them getting out of the lunar lander? Oh, the camera with actual film in it is strapped to the leg. Well, isn't the environment of space very dangerous? Okay, so the camera on the outside of the lunar lander's leg can sustain the rigors of space. Is that what we're supposed to believe? And also, not only that, but have you ever like taken a picture with your phone and you're like, oh, wait a minute, I need to wipe the lens off. So I guess no debris, nothing got on the lens the whole time. It didn't fog up even though the temperature's fluctuating between, I don't know, like negative 100 to like 1,000 degrees. And like the camera looks completely fine. This is 1969, 54 years ago. Oh, and by the way, we can't go back. We have not gone back yet. And people saying, oh, well, when is Artemis even going to attempt to go to the moon? They destroyed the technology to go, and they can't go back yet. But guys, totally, we went 50-something years ago. Well, obviously, we could do it then when we had, the Satanist rockets and also the guy who was the head of the concentration camp running the space program. Those guys did a bang-up job. We got to wait for Artemis 11 to go to the moon, the goddess of the moon. So they named it after the sun god's sister now. So then they're totally going to go back. But, that's just me. Right. Well, no, Jeremy, they can go, not only that, but they can send a satellite all the way to the sun. So they can go up to the sun. How would a camera fog up if there's no air? Well, first of all, there's all kinds of air through the atmosphere. This thing was strapped somewhere, wasn't it? So just think about like that. Just think about how like materials actually move and flex with heat. Okay, so this thing is getting hot. This thing's getting cold. This thing's getting hot. So the lenses could never crack. There's no debris in space. I thought there's debris all over the place. Like I said, the point is you could have a little thing touch the lens and it would wreck the shot. But you believe that there was a camera strapped to the leg of the lunar lander. Well, who took the shot of them leaving? Because you saw it pan up, like somebody had a camera like this and they were doing that. I mean, like I said, to me, it's like, oh, if you believe that, okay, look, you can believe that. Just admit it takes a lot of trust and faith to believe that. Because there's no evidence that they can do that now. And like I said before, if the James Webb Telescope can't take straight pictures like this can, like if I took a picture right now, I wouldn't need to Photoshop it in order for you to see it. Back in 1969, they could stream live video from the moon. Well, how come the James Webb Telescope can't stream live video? They could do it 54 years ago, but they can't do it now. Okay, so those are the kind of things that make me skeptical that they're telling the truth. Did anyone see the newest James Webb Telescope picture? It's like, obviously, it's like they took a screenshot straight from Guardians of the Galaxy. It doesn't look real because it's not real. because it's absolutely not real. Because if you see what the images look like before they Photoshop them, they don't look anything like that. If they wouldn't have to Photoshop real pictures like that, they wouldn't. It's like I said, it's really sad that people think that they could go to the moon back in 1969, but why can't they go back if they can send a satellite 96 million miles away and still control it? If they can send a satellite all the way to the sun and still have control over it, why can't they send a rocket with a couple people in it up to the moon? It's just, it's like, obviously it's nonsense to think that if they can do all these other things, if they can didn't they send the James Webb Telescope like 1 billion miles away? like a billion or something like that. How far away is the James Webb Telescope now? It can take pictures billions of miles away. And then the Parker Space Probe is 87 million miles away. And they can communicate with it, and they can steer it, and they can prevent it from going straight into the sun. They can use Venus to slingshot it around the sun or something like that. But they can't get to the moon. Why can't they get to the moon? Does anybody know when they're going to attempt to go back to the moon? Again, so the Artemis space program started in 2017. Okay, it's been 6 years. 6 years, and so far as I know, they have not planned on going to the moon yet. They did this. The last time they did it was 1972. Why haven't they gone back? It's a scam. It's absolutely a scam. And it's so funny. And like I said, it's funny as well when you see the video of Conan O'Brien talking to Buzz Aldrin. And Conan O'Brien obviously seems sincere at the time, says, "Oh, I remember when you guys went to the moon and we watched it on TV," and Buzz is like, "No, you didn't. No, you didn't." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "There was no cameras up there. You saw animation because there was nothing to see them landing on the moon." Obviously, what he said was true. Now, obviously, he left out, like, probably the most fun part was that, obviously, like when he told that little girl, "Why haven't we gone back to the moon?" Well, that's my question. Because we didn't go. And that's the truth, is we didn't go. And that's the way it happened. And if it didn't happen, blah, blah, blah. You remember Buzz saying that? And then if you made a video about that, they would probably say this was they would fact check you. They'd have Snopes fact check you. He's in all his context, in the perfect context, just like out of the mouth of the babes. Well, how come you can't go back? Well, how come you haven't gone back since? He didn't know what to say because, like, that's not a little girl's question. That's my question. Because we didn't go. And if that's the way it happened, oh my gosh, it's like, I think what's, and this is the theory. Okay, this is my theory. Okay, now we're going to get into the theory part of the show. Now that I've gone to my skepticism, the reason they haven't gone back is because, once again, when they have to fake these images, like, look at the pictures of the satellites. How fake do they look? Obviously, if they can't do that, it's going to look like Attack of the Clones if they try to go back to the moon now, because it won't look real, because it won't be real. So they had to stop going to the moon because the TVs got better looking. You know, like I said, the higher the pixels. As soon as the pictures and the cameras became better, they realized, oh gosh, we're not going to be able to just take a moon or take a Earth and stick it in the background anymore. People are going to want to see the stars. They're not going to believe this crap anymore because we don't. And then they're going to think like, well, what are we going to do? So now it's like the point where it almost seems likely, like a guy like Buzz Aldrin. And like I said, in my second video, I showed the clips of the astronauts after they got back from the moon. So, like, you think about this. If you guys have not seen this footage, go look up the post-flight press conference when supposedly Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong got back from the moon, and they're sitting down at this press conference, and it looks like a hostage video. These guys were backslapping, joking, you know, like, obviously these guys were like the belle of the ball before they went, right? They looked so happy, like they really thought they were going to the moon. And it almost seemed like to me that when they got back, they realized that they were involved in the biggest scam of all time. And they were put in front of the cameras, and they were not comfortable lying like that. And they looked like they didn't know what to do. And it's like, I have a feeling that these guys were manipulated in every which way. They seem so like Buzz Aldrin looks like a guy who was MK Ultra'd up. That's the way it looks to me, is that not everyone can be an astronaut because not everyone can just follow orders and obviously withstand all the testing they were doing on them. Not G-force testing, but like obviously probably the stuff that you see in Zoolander. Those guys thought they were going to the moon. They didn't go. And when they got back, when they got back from the moon, they realized, hey, guys, I don't think we went. Yeah, we did. No, we didn't. And then they got stuck right in front of the media. And then there they are, basically not making direct eye contact, looking down, like kind of got their hands behind, they're folding their arms. Their body language is awful. To me, that's what makes sense. And then, obviously, we haven't gone back since 1972. I just can't. I don't think there's any other way to explain it other than there was some funny business going on. It just makes no sense to me. And also, how did they get the lunar rover up there in that piece of? Again, okay, we'll go back to the question point. The lunar lander, that thing has these panels on it, and there's gaps all over the thing. It looks like obviously you stuck it underwater, probably in the same pool that they stick the International Space Station in. It would have so many leaks because there's gaps all through the panels. Okay, so where did the lunar rover fit onto that thing? Like I said, the thing it does not look like you could fly through outer space in that thing. Like steer that thing. That thing is 200. That thing went 250,000 miles in that piece of garbage. And then they went through the atmosphere, which is supposed to be really hot and cold all at the same time. Like I said, you can't tell me, man. You can't tell me that doesn't take a lot of faith to believe that. I'm smart enough to not take terrible guests on. And guess what? I don't have to have you on here. You can leave. You can leave. You guys can get up here and you guys can debate the things that I already, like I said, I'm not interested in having like a nuh-uh discussion. Or you can say, you guys can tell me all the same things. Oh, there's no resistance in space. Oh, there's gravity when it's convenient, and there's gravity when it's not convenient. You can say that, oh gosh, well, there was a camera strapped to the leg of the lander. Oh, they left the one camera on the moon. Oh, they left their boots on the moon. Oh, they left the car on the moon too. And all that stuff's still up there. Oh, and they also left mirrors on the moon. Well, I'm not going to just say, will you say something? And I'm going to say, nuh-uh. That's not going to be productive. And I'm not doing that. Like I said, just like I'm not going to debate if Jesus is God. I can give you reasons if you want to know, but I'm not going to debate it where somebody says, I don't believe the Bible. And it's like, well, if you don't believe the Bible, well, I'm not going to try to convince you by showing you scriptures. You can believe these things or you can't. These, like I said, I admit that my relationship with God is based on faith. You guys need to be in good faith, admit the same thing, that you believe NASA in faith. You believe the priests of science in faith. Just be honest about it. I mean, anybody who calls themselves Globey official, I'm not having you on. You sound like that's a clown. First of all, that's clownish. Like I said, if this is the only reason you come on to TikTok is to debate the shape of the earth, I don't want to talk to you. You sound very boring. This is only a small part of the stuff I do, is I point stuff out. So that's what's so funny. Like I had people on here wanting to talk about outer space in a video I made about Gog and Magog in London. Like, obviously, I'm going to move on to other topics, but I'm not talking with Globey official. Where, like I said, obviously you sound like a troll. You sound like you could be a bot, and I'm not having people like that on. I'm not just go to my boy Voice of Reason's live stream. He debates atheists all the time. He loves it. I'm not doing that. Like I said, you found the wrong live stream. I'm not doing that. I can't handle Globey official. I don't have to. I don't have to handle Globey official. I don't want my hands anywhere near him. It's like I said, I understand that when you roll around in the mud with pigs, we both get dirty and the pig likes it. I'm not doing that. I don't have to do that. Like I said, I don't have to do these things. That's the great thing about having free will and obviously my own standards. I don't have to do it. I never said I was going to debate this with anybody. Obviously, you can go get in line in the comments section and you can make a bunch of comments. It's like, but I don't have to respond to them either. What? But what if I'm the pig? Have I considered that I was a pig? I have been a pig in the past. I'm not anymore. Praise Jesus. Like I said, I'm not throwing my pearls before swine. I'm not giving dogs what's holy. I don't have to debate these things. Like I said, anybody who names themselves Globy is, like I said, I'm not having a debate with that person. It seems clownish. Like I said, it's just ridiculous. That's what I'm saying. It's like that. There's discussions that are productive, but like I said, I don't come on here to have, like I said, this is me personally. Like I said, and this is more of a meta macro view of these things. Like I don't think debates on TikTok are particularly productive. For one, obviously there's no moderator. Obviously what you have is a ton of confirmation bias, where it's like you have the people who agree with one person in the chat, obviously saying so-and-so's getting the win, so-and-so's getting the L. And then you have the opposite side saying so-and-so is winning, so-and-so is winning. And it's like, or so-and-so's losing. It's not productive. And obviously it's like, first of all, I'm not on the debate team. I'm not here to debate. You know, I'm here to tell you what I believe to be true. And obviously I'll lay out my case. You go to God with that. Obviously do your own research and come to your own conclusions. Like I'm not hand-holding you through this process. Obviously, like I said, that no man comes to the Father, comes to Jesus, but unless the Father draws him. So if I'm saying things that make sense to you, then obviously we can have that debate. So, well, my case is weak. What is my case? Like that's the part of this thing is like that it's not. What I'm saying is the case that we went to the moon is weak. I don't believe it. Like I said, I don't have to convince you that we didn't go. What I'm saying is I don't believe we went. You know, so it's not up to me to prove that you didn't go. Obviously, what I'm saying is you have to prove to me that you went, right? It's not up to me to prove a negative. So it's not my case. It's I don't believe you. You know what I mean? Like I can show you, if I showed you that NASA lied to you one time, and I can do that, then I can tell you I don't trust liars. And that's the case. That's my whole point, is if I don't have to believe you. Like I said, even I had a big channel respond to my video, and obviously all they did was respond with the canned NASA responses, like I didn't already know those things. Okay, well, she's got 2 million followers, so obviously she's got a big audience, and she's got a lot of trolls, and she's not shadow banned like we are. So guess what? She won because she had more people saying, "Slay, girl, slay NASA." Well, just because she has an answer doesn't mean it's correct. I don't believe her. You know, speaking of shadow ban. Okay, so my video on we didn't go to the moon, right? Okay, so we did not go to the moon, and I posted this video, and it was doing fairly well. And like I said, I guess I won't complain when I have a video that got 130,000 views, right? That's a pretty good video. I'll take that any day of the week. Any video, I'd be satisfied with that. Well, somebody on this app took my video. Obviously, they must have used SnapTalk, took my watermark off it, reposted it. That video's got 1.4 million views on somebody else's page, and that person had 30,000 followers. Well, I've got 180,000, and my video's got their video's got 10 times more views than mine. It's just like, why are you the way you are, TikTok? I feel like the Michael Scott talking to Toby. Why are you the way you are, TikTok? Like, why do you spit in our faces as creators? Why can't you just let our videos just do what they're going to do? Obviously, people like the video. I can't with this place sometimes. You know what? But it is the funny part about TikTok is it's like I said, and once again, another movie reference would be like, Godfather 3. Just when I think I'm out, you keep pulling me back in. I gotta come. What is funny, like I said, you see somebody who's got so the big creators who have 2 million followers well, their videos must be the best. Well, no, obviously TikTok can obviously let anyone succeed and anyone fail based on what they can do, right? Like anybody who has 2 million followers, it's like, obviously they're not posting stuff like we are, where it's like my friends all the time, and you know, truth be told, all the time, their videos will like obviously be shadow banned. Somebody else will post them. And I will see my friends' videos, not them posting it, even posting with a TikTok watermark on it, getting millions of views. Like little accounts getting millions of views with the same video. And like I said, it is maddening. I know this is a bit whiny, but you know, it is what it is. Well, you know, it's funny because I was lamenting to my daughter and I was saying, you know what? It's like, it's a little bittersweet. I still actually like that it's still doing good on somebody else's page because I really just want people to see it. You know, I mean, that's really, obviously we don't get a lot of money for doing any of this stuff. So it's like, I really just want people to see it. It's obviously you make a video, you want more eyeballs to see it. You know, you want the truth to get out there. And obviously, guys, it was the truth. You know, sorry, NASA people, it's the truth. You want people to see it. So it's like, I'm kind of happy that it's doing good for him. But at the same time, I'm like, you could have at least tagged me in the video. Like, you know what I mean? You could have tagged me. You could have done that. If you're going to post somebody else's video, you could tag them in it. You know, that's all I'm saying. Just a little bit of credit would be nice. Just a little bit. You know, I always find it interesting. Like I was talking to Brian about it last night. Is that the etiquette? Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, well, I would say that if you know who posted the video, I would say it's proper to tag somebody or mention them. You know, like I said, obviously, you know, it is like, I mean, when you take the watermark off the video, like put it this way, if you saved our videos and it pulls the TikTok, puts the TikTok watermark on there, and it would say at JTFOLLOWSJC on there, like you don't have to tag me. I still think it would be cool if you did, just so like we would know. Obviously, I'd like all the videos and I would repost it if you tagged me in it because I would know. But like if you take the watermarks off our videos and then post it like it wasn't us doing it, I think that's a little lame. That's what I'm just saying. But what I was talking about was obviously everybody knows about like the shrill chick talking about that mother blinker's not real, you know, on the plane. And it's like that video, I'm sorry, but that video is not that special. Obviously, they don't show you anything. We don't really see anything other than her reaction to something. And it's like, why has that video got so much viral love? And obviously it's memed all over the place. And it's like, that's where I always wonder. It's like how videos like that can't get that big without getting a massive push for some reason. Because it really is. It's like, it's pushed so much that like now we're all forced to respond to this where it's like, was there really a reptilian on the plane? Okay, well, why don't you turn the camera on the reptilian? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why is the camera focused on the woman and not the thing she's pointing at? Does anyone know how cameras work? It's like, obviously she's pointing at something. You know, we saw her reaction enough, right? Like, you know, point to the person who's not human. You know, like that's just me. I mean, I think maybe because now I'm a content creator, I know how to make a video, but like the second part of the video would be important. But at the same time is, wait, you're a Christian, you believe in reptilians. Chardock, are you like some of you people, you try so hard to miss what I'm saying is I'm saying the reptilian video, I'm questioning why it's popular. So the question, so did I say the reptilian was real? No, I was saying she was pointing at something that she claimed to be reptilian. My point is, we don't know what she was pointing at because we didn't see the rest of the video. like you trying, like sometimes I feel like you obviously people are trying to be dense. Like, so I'm the dumb one. I never said reptilians were real. What I said was that how is that video so popular with not more to it? Obviously, she says people are saying that there's some shapeshifter, there's a reptilian on the plane. Do I believe in that? I didn't say that I believe in that. I don't believe in reptilians. What I'm saying is she's pointing at something. How has that video gone mega viral. We've been talking about this video for what, like, it was like 2 weeks now? That's the whole thing. Yeah, she did the as above, so below thing. And I think that might have been the point of getting this video out there, is that she threw up the gang signs in the video, all subtle like. People don't point their fingers like that on accident. So I think that was probably more to the point of like, correct. Like that's what really goes down. So who coordinated that all these social media companies got behind that video like it was the hottest thing, like we'd seen something we'd never seen before? Was it time to create a new meme? That's what it kind of looked like to me. I don't know. But that's what I'm saying. So like that is always what you wonder as somebody who makes videos, is like, so what is it that the algorithm wants in order to a video to go crazy viral? Because obviously there's videos with millions of views, there's videos with like tens of millions of views, and then some of them are not special at all. And then you see some of my friends post some of the best videos I've ever seen, and they've got like 2,000 views on TikTok. They get less than 10,000 views. So it's kind of like, we know the algorithm is wonky. But there's my boy Luke Caverns talking about a guy who goes viral. The just off the market Luke Caverns. They do want absolutely they want us talking about certain things. They don't like videos about Building 7. Building 7, I was actually thinking about that. I wonder what the correlation is, the people who believe that Building 7 fell due to fire and believe that we went to the moon. I bet you 100% of the people who believe we went to the moon probably say, oh yeah, Building 7, obviously the fire was just so hot in that those office chairs burned that whole building down. Yeah, like, and then it fell from the bottom. Like I said, this is the place we're at, where it's like we can't believe our own eyeballs. Well, I think what the truth is that people don't know things because they try not to know them. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like that. Here's why I used to believe that we went to the moon. Okay, this is why I used to believe it, because I never looked into it. I didn't have a reason to believe they were lying to me, because obviously I was out there living my best life. I was out there trying to, obviously chase the American dream. I was doing all the things like everyone else was doing. I was going to school, I was partying, then I was finding a wife, I was having kids, I was doing all these things. I was distracted by life. And then one day you get to sit down and you start to say, hey, like, you know what? There's some weird stuff going on in this world. Like, this stuff doesn't really make a lot of sense. And then guess what? You start looking into things and you're like, why did people say we didn't go to the moon? And then you start looking into it and you're like, wait a minute. I never thought of that. That's weird. Oh yeah, that doesn't look real, does it? And then you're like, now you look further, and then you're like, no, you're right, we didn't go. And that's the same thing with, like, most people don't know about Building 7 is because you're a crazy person if it's funny because that was like the smear is that you were called a truther, a 9/11 truther, if you believed that it wasn't as they say it was. But once you start to look into these things, and that's probably a lot of people's like first real big conspiracies, like you're looking into it and you're like, you know what? That building, it's not normal for these buildings to fall into the footprints like this. These buildings, despite what they tell you, were built with the idea in mind that they would have to sustain the biggest aircraft in the time crashing straight into them. Did you know that they thought of that stuff when they talked about building the World Trade Centers? So these things were built to withstand direct plane crashes. And yet they fell directly into their footprints. And then, but all that being said, Building 7 was not hit by a plane. So what they want us to believe is that 3 planes crashed and like 4 buildings blew up on that day. Like part of the one tower fell into the other building, set a fire, a small fire, and the building fell down into its footprint. It collapsed from the bottom. This was a building that actually had like, what was it? A Secret Service wing to it that literally could be like, was like bomb proof. None of them were hit by a plane. I've heard that. I can't verify that. Point being is, even if they were hit by planes, well, the Pentagon was not hit by a plane, because once again, where's the video of it? There's no video of it, which is absolutely insane because it was the Pentagon. Like, you don't think there would be video of that? Yeah, but that being said, Building 7 actually was built to withstand like a bomb, and it had a small fire and it collapsed. Meanwhile, like I said, almost every time you see one of these, like these buildings burning, how many buildings have you seen that caught fire over the past since then? How many buildings since 9/11 and before 9/11 caught fire and collapsed directly into their footprints? Is there any other examples of that? Because I've seen quite a few buildings that were raging infernos. What was that? Was that building in China that was burning for like 2 days? And it was like, guess what? The one thing that didn't happen was it didn't collapse into its footprint. It was still just standing there, like all of them. It only makes sense. And obviously, when you actually look at the video that's on the ground and these firefighters coming out and saying they heard explosions, they heard multiple explosions. The news were saying there was a second explosion. And then they were even talking about the windows blowing out of the building one by one. But again, like I said, without even talking about those two towers, Building 7 collapsed like this. That's why I always say, it's like, if you see this cup, it's like this. It went down like that. It's like, it didn't collapse like that. It collapsed like that. I need to do another video about that. I was thinking about, I have some more 9/11 material, but I might save that for September. Maybe I should do it now because, the whole world might collapse here soon. So maybe people will be like talking about the next the next 9/11 before we can talk about the old one. The food processing plants, all the things, like Bill Gates buying up all the farmland to not farm on it. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't even get into the depressing news about like the financial system's about to collapse. I mean, that's going down. That's going down like it's being detonated. Trump's ties to 9/11. I think one of the more interesting parts of what Trump said was that, because Trump was in construction, obviously in New York, he was all about building some buildings. And I can't remember what show he was on, but he was like, obviously this is shortly after the towers collapsed, and he was saying that there must have been a bomb. I think this was Trump's words. There must have been a bomb on that plane because he knew that the steel was too strong on that tower to fall. So he was like, this could not have happened this way. And it's like, obviously he would know. And obviously if you, as a guy in construction, the schematics of these buildings, these things are built to like this, obviously the steel members, like the structural steel in these buildings would not melt like that. And obviously if part of the building collapsed, that stuff would still be standing because it just doesn't fall. Aluminum planes are not going to destroy those things. It's just like, it's so maddening. But yeah, but Trump's reaction was very classic, where he was like, he basically said it had to be a bomb. He said that. Craziness. Any advice surviving the economic collapse? I guess the only thing that I could tell you, and this is what I'll check off for the night. The only thing I gotta tell you is, this is maybe not the answer anybody wants here, but this is the correct answer. Faith in Jesus. Because I don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, because we don't really know what's going to happen. Like, you could say, if I give you any kind of tangible, obviously that is tangible advice. Faith in Jesus.